Hi, I'm Susie, and I am midway into the story of my second marriage. Um, Having five teenagers. Um, I'm going to start out by talking about church again. Haven't talked about that in a while. A little update there. So I was in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Atlanta. I had been active in that church for over 20 years, mostly in California. And I told you that Mark, my husband, who I'm calling him, he did come to church with me, and he used to play golf with the pastor, and they were buddies, kind of. And I'm we did take the kids sometimes, but not often because they didn't like it so much. I think my boys and my daughter probably came pretty much. I don't really remember at that point in time because I don't really believe in forcing it, but they were used to going to church all their life. So, as far as I remember, they did still go pretty much. And his boys would come occasionally when they wanted to. They didn't have anything else to do or whatever. He didn't make them go. One really nice thing I remember doing as a family with that church was at Christmas time, they had a adopt a family. And our family, with all five kids, we adopted another family that had several kids. I don't remember how many. Um, I think there might have been four kids in the other family. It was a family that needed help. So they gave us, we put our names in, and they gave us the names of the kids and their ages and sizes and all. And there was a mom and dad, and it was a black family. That doesn't mean anything, but just to show that we were open armed like that. And it was really, really nice. So we bought a lot of gifts for that family, made sure everybody had some things. I think they might have had a little wish list. I don't remember, but I know we had gifts for the whole family, and we ate dinner with them at the church one night. All the families that participated in this, we had dinner with our family at one big table, and presented them with their gifts, and it was, got to know them a little bit. And that was a really, really nice thing that we did together with all of our kids and their kids and everything. So then, there was some reasons that I wasn't real thrilled with everything that was going on at that church, uh, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church in general. I mentioned before they were very, very, very conservative about things that I didn't feel were that important or important at all. Uh, so because I did start eating some meat again, and I was drinking some wine, but I really didn't feel like those were terrible sins or sins at all, really, which that church was against that, and also against jewelry. And I did start wearing some jewelry because Mark bought me some jewelry, and I started wearing jewelry, and all that. Those kind of things I didn't agree with. Um, and I also never agreed with the fact that they think they are the right, best church, and that everyone should be there, and all other churches got this message wrong. So I never agreed with that because I was raised in Methodist church. Not, I wasn't raised there. I went there because I wanted to, and I knew that was a good church. So I knew there was others out there, other Christians in other churches that were good people, and other churches were not all bad. I knew that. So that was a big thing that I did not agree with that, with the Seventh-day Adventists. So when oh, okay, so what happened was that there became a breakaway church. One of the guys, younger than us, he was probably about in his early 30s. Um, Mark and I were in our late 40s by now. He was, anyway, um, this guy named Jim, okay? He was like in his early 30s, and he liked Mark, and Mark and him kind of, they became pals. And he told us and invited us to this breakaway church that from the Atlanta North Church, that they were starting another church, and they were going to have Sunday worship as well as Sabbath, Saturday worship. And they were trying to reach out to more people. That's why they were doing the Sunday worship. And they were also going to play contemporary Christian music with the band, with the drums and all that, which they did not do in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Drums were evil. They call evil spirits. That's what they say, and I didn't agree with that either. I know they might, if they're used in voodoo or something, I know that they can call evil spirits, but it doesn't mean that every time there's drums that evil spirits come. I don't believe that. I believe that drums are an instrument and great, and rhythm. God gave us rhythm, and there's nothing wrong with playing the drums. So started going to this breakaway church, and it was all young people. Mark and I were probably the oldest ones there. Mostly people in their 20s, and liked it. It was called New Community, and I started participating there. I would do breakfast actually. Um, I rotated with a couple other women, and one every um, third or fourth week I would do breakfast for the whole church, which wasn't a whole lot of people. I mean, it was less than 100 people. I don't know, maybe 50 or something like that. But I would do breakfast. That was quite a bit. And they would have paid for it, but we paid it, as a donation. And but laying it all out and all was quite a job. And so was going there, and then one day, the one couple that was in the band, they had a dog, and they lived way down south, south of Atlanta, and they drove quite a ways to come to this church north of Atlanta. And so they had a dog that they used to mention sometimes. I knew they were keeping their dog in their van during the service, and I wanted to see it because I love dogs. And it was a big white dog with long white hair. I don't remember what kind it's called. But after church, I followed them out because I wanted to meet their dog. And slid open the van door, and I said, "Oh, you're such a pretty boy." And I put my hand in to pet him, and he grabbed hold of my arm right here and bit down with his big mouth. And boy, I screamed. It was very, very, very painful. I had a jacket on, and his teeth went right through the jacket, right through my shirt, into my arm. And I went back into the church to the ladies' room, took my shirt off or whatever, pulled it up, I don't remember, to look at my arm. And there was something that I thought it was muscles. Not sure. I heard that it might be something else besides muscles, the veins or arteries or something. I don't know, but it looked like vermicelli, like really thin pasta sticking out of my arm, hanging down. It was horrible, and it hurt so bad. And Mark was not there that day with me. I was alone at church. So I of course went to the emergency room, and I called him. I was crying. I was so in really horrible pain. And he met me at the emergency room. But that couple that had the dog, um, she came into the bathroom with me. She saw my arm. They didn't come to the hospital with me. They never offered to pay the hospital bill or apologize or nothing. I mean, I know it was my fault because when you meet a new dog, you got to be more careful than I was. And I know now, let them sniff you first and all before you reach out and try to pet their head right away. Um, and that dog was all wired up because he was, waiting in the car for 2 hours or more. So, anyway, that made me think about people in the church. I mean, that was not right of them. They should have been more concerned for me, and they didn't show that. But they're up there singing their hearts out for Jesus, and, those actions were not showing that to me. I thought they were better than that, um, sadly to say. Anyway, also, I got to mention, because I'm trying to do the setting here to get into the funeral, because as I mentioned earlier, the one son killed himself. He was 18, and I'm getting the setting together before I talk about the funeral and all. So also at that time now we had decided to build a house. We bought a piece of land um, not far from Lake Lanier. It was closer to Mark's job, which he had a really bad commute, even though he was out of town most of the time. He hated his commute. My commute would be bad either way, and I worked at home most of the time. But so we bought a house out in Sugar Hill, walking distance to Lake Lanier, and right across the street from a golf course, which Mark played golf, and custom homes in the subdivision. And we started to build our own house. We had to clear the land and all that first, and it was a really nice piece of property backed up to the woods, and so we got these plans, and we even made them a little bit nicer, and custom home. We're designing every room the way we want it and buying every piece of everything, picking everything out at Home Depot, going there all the time, and then got the house up and all. And we were living in a hotel for 6 months because our other house, um, sold. The house that we had in Cobb County, East Cobb, sold immediately. The 8-bedroom house, beautiful home. I love that house, but traffic was terrible going from there anywhere. So we were living in I had employee rate at the Staybridge Suites, which were part of the Holiday Inn Worldwide, which became Bass Hotels, which became Intercontinental Hotels Group, the same company, but they just changed their name a lot. And they opened the Staybridge Suites. I was working for them during that whole launch and all. And first Staybridge Suites was in Alpharetta, Georgia, right north of Atlanta. And we stayed there for 6 months. That's was the limit that I could stay as an employee, and had a nice suite there. And we were buying things for the house during this time. Little funny thing what to tell you was we bought a mantle for the living room fireplace. All we were going with the dark wood. We did all dark hardwoods, and I bought all cherry and mahogany furniture, and really beautiful stuff. Anyway, so we had a mantle, like the dark wood, antique replica with the carvings, beautiful carvings and all, gorgeous mantle. And the house wasn't ready yet for it, so we brought it into our hotel room. And it was just really funny bringing it in the elevator, carrying it through, and people are looking, and we're out in the elevator with several other people. And we said, well, they didn't have a fireplace in our room, so we brought our own. Uh, so got a kick out of that. And we propped it up and had that mantle in there, our fake fireplace while we were living in the hotel. Well, after 6 months, we were almost ready to move in, but not quite. And we had to get a crummy other place, another hotel, uh, and that's where we were when the suicide happened. Uh, the boy was not, he was 18, he was not staying with us. Well, none of the kids were when we were in the hotel, right? My twins had gone to live in California with their dad, um, and they were also 18 at that time, and daughter was in going to University of Georgia and living there, and the other son, I guess he was living with his mom during that time, or with a friend. He had a girlfriend. I don't remember who he was living with, or maybe he was back and forth between a few places. I don't know. But we were in the hotel room, and in this really crummy hotel room. Uh, we were saving a little money, since we were putting so much out towards the house. And so when the suicide happened, of course, devastating, shocking to everybody. Nobody had a clue. Um, we didn't know he was depressed. He was one of those life of the party type people. Uh, we used to call him the social director in our family. He always came up with ideas of fun things to do. Let's do this, let's go here, there. And lots of times we would do it as a family, things he had ideas. And we also had a boat at that time. Um, we used to go out on the boat as a family. That was always fun. Uh, and it's one of the reasons we wanted to be near the lake also. So very devastating and all. I tried to be the strong one for the family. Uh, I contacted a lot of the relatives and all, even on the mother's side. Um, uh, some to give them the news, and I helped a lot with the plans for the funeral and all. And I asked both pastors because there was no other church family. So my pastor from the big Atlanta North Church, Seventh-day Adventist, he performed the church ceremony and it was at the Roswell Baptist Church. And uh, the other pastor from the Breakaway New Community Church did the graveside prayer and scripture. They both were there working together side by side, and that all worked out fine. Um, and they had some people come and sing. Uh, the church sat 800, and there was more than 800 people there. I know because my one girlfriend came and said she couldn't even get in the church, and there was a lot of people outside, she said, that couldn't even get in because it was full. He was a popular kid, pretty much. Had a lot of friends, and coaches and teachers were there and all. Very, very, very sad, heartbreaking. And my husband was never the same again um, for me. Uh, for the rest of our marriage, like I say, that was midway into our marriage that this happened. And he went into a dark depression, and it had a big effect on the whole family. Um, Everybody, was shocked and depressed and all, of course. Suicide affects everybody. Um, my boys, my twins came, we flew them out, to be there with us. And so I asked the ex-wife to give me a list of her family and whoever she wanted to sit in the front row with family, as family. maybe the front 2 rows, I don't remember, but so she gave me a list, and there was a name on that list that I knew that was very familiar, and coincidence or whatever crazy thing, that it was a guy that I went to high school with and reunited with at my 20-year reunion. He was in my season 1 and my season 2, and he was instrumental in me moving to Atlanta even, but um, I hadn't seen him in years. And I was so surprised because I didn't know that he was a friend of who I'm calling Donna. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I've known him for years. We're good friends. And yeah, I want him to sit up front with family." So that blew my mind. And afterwards, are at the subdivision where we had just moved out of. We had lived there for 4 years. Um, they, those people there, our friends there, they were so nice to. They had us, the reception for everybody. They all had potluck, and that was very nice. Um, and Tim was there, and we talked at that time, and he said when he saw those my kids, he knew that this was the same family, and it blew his mind too. Crazy. Well, what good came out of it? Lots of times some good comes out of the sadness. The good that came out of it was that the youngest son that I had mentioned earlier, who did not live with us, he was 10 years old now. He was like 5 when I met Mark, and I had never met him. He was living with his mom, and I met him for the first time. And he came alone to the funeral. Cute little 10-year-old, and he was so sweet, and I had never met him before, so that was his introduction to my kids and me, and we at that time we welcomed him into our family, which he was not part of because Mark saw very little of him, and but so this united him with our family. And the other good thing was that Mark's brother, one of his brothers that he had been estranged from for a few years, they hadn't talked for whatever reason, those things happen with siblings sometimes, and he came. So that was reuniting the two brothers, and that was real sweet. And I met him for the first time, and then we started to see a lot of him for a while, and that was all good. So I guess that's my story there. And I just want to say, on the note of teenage suicide, um, you just don't know. Because, like I say, it happened so suddenly. He was angry about something, and it was just kind of in a fit of rage that he shot himself. Um, and really, no one would ever expect him to be capable of that because, he always seemed to be enjoying life. Even though he was going through a bad time, we never expected anything like that could ever happen. It was so shocking. So all I can say is, try to stay close to those kids. It's hard when they're teenagers, but try to stay close to them so that they can really talk to you, open up to you about what's going on inside their heads. And that might mean um, that you might have to be a little softer sometimes. And it's hard with teenagers because, when you see them going the wrong way, it's so hard to be easy on them when you know it can lead to trouble. But uh, we might need to be more understanding sometimes. And, it's just so sad. And it had a very devastating effect on all of us, all of us. So that's where I'm going to end now. Thank you for watching. God bless.